Namaskaram to everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the official Mridangam podcast. I really appreciate it. Today we will be discussing a korve in Kandachapu, Talam, from Samam to Samam. So a little bit different from the korves we've been doing in the past so far that have all been Adi Talam. So today is our first korve in a different Talam, which will be Kandachapu. So let's get right to the korve. As usual, I will play the korve, or first say the korve, and then discuss the mathematical reasoning behind the korve, and then finally play the korve. So here's the korve. This is a Chatusharam korve from Samam to Samam. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum 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 tarigum takadadi. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum 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 tarigum takadadi. Takadinadi. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum 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 tarigum takadadi. Takadinadi. Takadinadi. Tatum tatti kitatum tom tatum tatti kitatum tatti kitatum tom tatum tatti kitatum tatti kitatum tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tatarigum tarigum takadadi. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tatarigum tarigum takadadi. Takadinadi. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tatarigum tarigum takadadi. Takadinadi. Tatum tatti kitatum tom tatum tatti kitatum tom tatum tatti kitatum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadadi. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadadi. Takadinadi. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadadi. Takadinadi. Takadinadi. Tatum tatti kitatum tom tatum tatti kitatum tom tatum kitatakatakarigum tom. So that is the korva in Kandachapu. So as usual, now we'll discuss the mathematical reasoning. So this korva turns out to be 37.5 beats long, which means that it is 15 ardhanams, or 15 cycles in Kandachapu Talam, because Kandachapu is 2.5 beats long. So 37 divided by 2.5 is 15. And so now I'll show you how we figured out that this korva was 37.5 beats. So as usual, all korvas have two parts, the Purvangam and the Uttarangam. So the Purvangam in this case was the section that had the 5-beat stroke. Tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tatarigum tarigum in this case was the stroke that we used in this korve. So the Purvangam turns out to be 24.5 beats. 24.5 beats. So you're playing the 5-beat stroke 3 times, and then after the 5 beats, so the first time you're doing tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadading. So after the 5-beat stroke, you're playing takadina, and then with 3 karves in between. So takadinading. The next time you're doing, after the 5-beat stroke, you do takadinading and then takadinading. So you do the takadinading half as fast. So you do, in addition to the previous stroke at this exact same speed that you played it in the original. So first it's tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadading. Then tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadading. Takadinading, like that. So you're playing it half as fast. And then finally tatti tatarigum tatti tatarigum tarigum takadading. Takadinading. So the first time you're kind of playing it as like 1, the second time you're playing it with 2, and the third time you're playing it with 3. So what I mean by that is like you're playing it half as fast as you were the first time, the takadinadim, and then the third time you're playing it a third as fast as the original. So that's what I mean by that. So that's kind of the progression of the Purvangam, and it turns out to be 24.5 beats, like I said before. Next, the Uttarangam. This Uttarangam is a little bit different from typical Uttarangams that we're used to dealing with in our korves. So, and the reason being, it kind of builds upon itself. It doesn't have the same exact stroke played with karves in between. So what it is, it's Tadom, tati kita tom tom, tatom, tati kita tom tom, tatom, tati kita tom tom. So the way that pattern works is, so tadom, we can split this up into two parts. This stroke, tadom, tatiketadom, can be split into two parts to make it a little bit more easier to understand. Tadom and then tatiketadom. So the tadom part is worth 3, and then the tatiketadom part is worth 5. So in this case, and then there's of course 2 kadwas in between. So we have tadom, tatiketadom. So 3 and then 5. That's 8 points. So after this, we have 2 kadwas. And then instead of tadom, tatiketadom, it's tadom, tadom, tatiketadom, tatiketadom. So instead of doing 1 of each, you do 2 of each. So instead of 3 plus 5, it's 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5, because you're duplicating each section of it. So instead of it being 8 points, it would be 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 5 is 11, and 11 plus 5 is 16. So it is 16 points. So we have 8, and then we have 16. So now the third part is tadom, 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 tatiketadom, 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 tam. So that means that we're instead of doing the first time we did 1 of each, the second time we did 2 of each, and now we're doing 3 of each. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. So 3 times 3 is 9, and then 5 times 3 is 15. So basically 9 plus 15, which is 24. So now we have the 3 parts are 8, 16, and 24. So 8 plus 16 is 24. 24 plus 24 is 48. But make sure that you remember this. We didn't include the kadwa in between in this calculation. So we still have to add the 2 kadwas in between the first and the second. So that's 50. 48 plus 2 is 50. And then the 2 kadwas between the second and the third, 52. And remember, there's no kadwa at the end of the korve. It just ends. So the total is 52 points. Not beats, but 52 points is the Uttarangam's arave, or the Uttarangam's measure. So now that we know that it's 52 points, we simply divide by 4, because there's 4 points in a beat in Chatusram, and 52 divided by 4 is 13. So the Uttarangam is 13 beats, and we know that the Purvangam is 24.5, so 24.5 plus 13 is, ta-da, 37.5 beats, which is what we had before. So that is the mathematical derivation behind this korve. So now, as always, I'm going to play this korve just to give you an idea for what it sounds like. So here it is. I'm going to put one cycle of talam and then start the korve. So here we go. So that is the korve. If you might have noticed, I kind of played around with some of those varieties of 5 there in the korve. So I actually have a video podcast about that in my previous episode. So if you'd like to check that out, please do so. But anyway, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Official Mridangam podcast. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, anything that would help me improve my show and advance it to the next level. So thank you. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your mridangam.